His had been a militarily successful and costly reign, expanding the Roman frontiers in Mesopotamia, North Africa and Britain. But before he could complete the conquest of Scotland, the Emperor Septimius Severus was struck down by illness and forced to withdraw to York. When the inhabitants of the island again revolted, he summoned the soldiers and ordered them to invade the rebels' country, killing everybody they met. When this had been done, and the Caledonians had joined the revolt of the Maetai, he began preparing to make war upon them in person. While he was thus engaged, his sickness carried him off on the 4th of February, and not without some help, they say, from Caracalla. At all events, before Severus died, he is reported to have spoken thus to his sons: "Be harmonious, enrich the soldiers, and scorn all other men." His eldest son, Caracalla, would follow two parts of this dictum. The soldiery got richer, and he gained a reputation for cruelty, but fraternal harmony would be beyond his reach.
Severan propaganda would have it that the imperial family was happy and loving. The reality was that Caracalla and Geta hated one another. Upon their joint ascension on 4th February 211, they could not bear to be in each other's company without the presence of their mother, Julia Domna. They divided the imperial palace and may have even planned to divide the empire. Soon Caracalla wished to murder his brother, but since many soldiers were guarding Geta day and night, he induced his mother to summon them both, unattended, to her apartment, with a view to reconciling them. But when they were inside, some centurions rushed in and struck down Geta, who at the sight of them had run to his mother, hung about her neck, and clung to her bosom and breasts, lamenting and crying, "Mother that did spare me, help, I am being murdered." Thus Geta died in his mother's arms at just 22, with Caracalla ordering a thorough damnatio memoriae of his murdered brother, along with the deaths of 20,000 of his supposed followers.
The murder of his brother and thousands of his supposed supporters, enriching the army to the detriment of imperial finances, and his reputation for cruelty made the Emperor Caracalla an unpopular man in many, but not all circles. By the spring of 217, that unpopularity had spawned a plot in the imperial retinue. Julius Martialis and two tribunes, Nemesianus and Apollinaris, possibly on the instigation of Macrinus, the Praetorian prefect. On the 8th of April, when the Emperor had set out from Edessa for Cary, and had dismounted from his horse to ease himself, Martialis approached as though desiring to say something, and struck him with a small dagger. Martialis immediately fled, but was struck down with a javelin. As for Caracalla, the tribunes, pretending to come to his rescue, slew him. Continued support from the army prevented the damning of his memory, but Caracalla left enough of a negative mark in the historical record for Edward Gibbon to christen him the common enemy of mankind.
Whether he had been behind the assassination of Caracalla or not, the Praetorian prefect Macrinus quickly proclaimed himself as emperor. However, in attempting to deal with his predecessor's ruinous military spending through peace deals and reducing pay, Macrinus raised opposition within the army. That opposition coalesced around the maternal relatives of Caracalla, with the young Elagabalus declared emperor. It was claimed that he was an illegitimate son of Caracalla, but was in fact his first cousin once removed. The subsequent battle took place near Antioch on 8th of June 218 and saw the defeat of Macrinus. He left by night on horseback, having first shaved his head and his whole chin, and wearing a dark garment over his purple robe, in order that he might resemble an ordinary citizen. It was his intention to make his way back to Rome in the expectation that there he could gain some assistance, but he was seized in Chalcedon, having been sentenced to die before entering Antioch. Macrinus was slain, and his body remained unburied until Elagabalus had gloated over it.
The reign of Elagabalus is marked by the flouting of social and sexual taboos and the living of a dissolute, debauched and decadent lifestyle even for a Roman emperor. He established Elagabal as a god on the Palatine Hill close to the imperial palace, and he built him a temple to which he desired to transfer all that the Romans held sacred, proposing that no god might be worshipped at Rome, save only Elagabal. He declared furthermore that the religions of the Jews and the Samaritans and the rites of the Christians must also be transferred to this place. He violated the chastity of a Vestal Virgin, profaned the sacred rites of the Roman nation, desired to extinguish the everlasting fire, and asserted that all gods were merely the servants of his god. Elagabalus also sacrificed human victims and kept about him every kind of magician and had them perform daily sacrifices. His various eccentricities provoked the Praetorian Guard, who sided with the emperor's cousin, Severus Alexander, and murdered Elagabalus in March 222.
After the excesses of Elagabalus, the normalcy of the reign of Severus Alexander was a welcome boon to the Roman Empire. However, the Severan Dynasty and the problems on the frontiers had increased the need for competent military leadership, and not only did Severus Alexander not have any martial experience, he and his mother seemed keen that he not get any, paying off enemies rather than fighting them. Indeed, the emperor was dominated by his mother and obeyed her every command. One might bring this single charge against Alexander that his excessive amiability and abnormal filial devotion led him to bow to his mother in matters he personally disapproved. And so for 13 years he ruled the empire in blameless fashion so far as he was personally concerned. This was not just the thought of Hadrian. Various other sources, Cassius Dio, the Historia Augusta, Eutropius, held that Iulia Mamaea had significant influence over Severus Alexander, something which contributed to both of their murders by the army on the 22nd of March 235 AD, after she persuaded him to pay off the German tribes.